welcome to the third episode of the Professional Practice series by Critical Mass. Today, we're talking about something that honestly doesn't get enough love and attention that really deserves. Next to marketing, systems is probably one of our biggest pet peeves in the industry. It's the one thing that keeps your practice running behind the scenes. We all know that systems are necessary to, run a functional business. The things like scheduling and onboarding your clients, the communication, all that wonderful 3D world stuff. And we're often trying to get all these pieces together and figure it out on our own. And it causes a lot of stress and overwhelm for, I think, most of us. So our guest tonight is Jennifer Richardson, who is a professional organizer and coach with over a decade of experience in helping women move from overwhelm to ease. Jenn brings a deeply personal and compassionate approach to her work because she's lived it. We always love to come from lived experience, so we're really looking forward to hearing about Jenn's. After years of feeling like she was failing at staying organized, a late ADHD diagnosis helped her see that the real issue wasn't her. It was the systems that didn't fit the way that her brain worked. So through her business, Contained Madness, which I love the name, Jenn now helps others create simple, functional structures that reduce the chaos, bring calm, not by chasing perfection, but by honoring real life, real capacity, and what actually works for the people that she's working with. So whether your back end feels like chaos and disaster, or you're just looking to make things more manageable for yourself, this episode is going to help you get some grounded, shame-free guidance, because that's always important, for getting your systems to support you in the work that you do. So let's get into the episode. And we're going to start by chatting about the hidden cost behind chaos. If our systems are in chaos and it's complete disorganization, like what are the costs of that? So Jenn, I'm gonna open with the question: what happens when we don't have systems in place, or we've got systems but they're very heavy or very clunky, or we just have too many of them? What happens in those instances?
Well, if you don't have any systems, or if you have something that's overcomplicated, then it's requiring you to serve it, and it diminishes your ability to serve other people, to serve your own needs. Kind of makes you feel like you're stuck in chaos, and chaos is expensive. Not just in dollars, but it drains your energy. If you're getting into a healing session with a client, but mentally you're still tallying like all of the administrative tasks that you have to get done, then you're not showing up as the best energy you can bring there. It is expensive with your time. You're spending, 10, 15 minutes before every client trying to find their intake form or their session notes, and you've got 4, 8 clients a day. That's a couple of hours that you're losing. And the biggest one is probably that it steals your creativity. It's expensive in creativity. We are not brilliant in the moments when we're in survival mode. We are brilliant in the moments that we are at rest, and that we have time to listen for that brilliance. And if you're just running bell to bell every day and just, relying on yourself to think of the next offer, the next workshop, the next way to expand your impact, but your mental load is being drugged down by all the things that feel chaotic in that moment, that brilliance doesn't come.
Love that. Yes, I really love the point that you hit on there, that it steals your energy. I think is one of the bigger ones for practitioners, because burnout is such a prominent thing in our industry. We're constantly burning ourselves out, and that chaos of lack of systems it's fueling part of that burnout by it's draining your energy. It's as you said, like you're spending hours. If you've got 4 to 8 clients, you're now spending hours. Where is my intake form? Where's my terms and conditions? I need to reschedule this client. How do I do that? So I love the insights that you're sharing with us already. So how does this organization affect clarity and client experience, because we've already chatted about energy, but let's chat about a practitioner's clarity within a session, and also the experience from the client's perspective. If we've got all of that, we don't have systems in place, or the systems are too clunky, or we're thinking about the systems while we're sitting in session with our clients.
Right. Well, I think, I think a lot of practitioners, and even, myself, people come to you in a very vulnerable place, and they really need you to show up and fill in all of those gaps that they feel weakness. And when you are distracted because you're thinking of what needs to happen after this, or I've forgotten something, if you miss something that they've said and you have to reveal that to them, that you missed something, I wasn't listening, or I didn't hear that, it steals a little of that vulnerability. It steals a little of that safety from them. It doesn't leave them feeling confident in you. And their confidence in you is where they're going to get their confidence in themselves, because they're believing in what you're telling them. And when you steal bits of that away, they start to they don't believe as much in the process and the results that they could get from it.
Mm-hmm. I love the way that you've put that we're stealing from our clients if we're coming into sessions disorganized, or before a session, trying to book a session, trying to navigate our paperwork and our systems, that we're now stealing from our clients. We're taking their energy, taking their time, and that lack of confidence. I love that point that you made, that it doesn't detract so much from the confidence in the practitioner, it detracts from the confidence in themselves and their process, which for a lot of the work that they're doing with these practitioners, like that, those things are key. Those are the important parts. We need to have safe spaces, and clients need to feel comfortable and sure of the process and the practitioner that they're working with. I love those points that you've made for us. I'm gonna hand over to Shunda for a minute. I know she's got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to add something on that too, just them not feeling heard. That's definitely important, because like you said, clients come to you in like a vulnerable state. And so if they come to you and feel like they can't be heard, they're probably not going to want to come back to you. So
Right, because when they come to you, they're looking, they're seeking something.
Mhm.
And most of the time when it's help, especially those of us who serve primarily women, it's really hard to ask for help in the first place. But
Mhm.
if you show up and you feel like, why did I ask you? Like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, nobody's even listening to me. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to be 100% available to give them what you are brilliant at.
Yes, I agree with that. So now let's shift into what makes a system simple and supportive. I know that there's so many systems out there. I have had a lot of experience with different systems that didn't work. So for our audience, what is something that is simple and supportive to the practitioner?
So when I'm working with clients in their homes, it's the same as when I'm working with clients on their businesses. When there's something that you're struggling to do, I'm looking for every obstacle between you and getting it done. And why is this hard? And sometimes, a lot of times, the obstacle is the system. When there's a lot of steps that need to be taken, or there's a lot of unnecessary pieces, because you feel like this is what you're supposed to have, with somebody else, they have this in their practice and it's working for them. So I must use it. And if it doesn't work for me, it's got to be me. And then, we struggle putting together puzzles that aren't meant for the picture we're trying to put together, that we're trying to create. A system should be as simple as possible so that it can be something that works even when you are tired, when you are distracted, when you are emotionally tapped out. If it's something that requires you to show up and serve it too, you're never going to find that restful place in your brain. So, you don't need a fancy CRM if all you're doing is booking one-on-one sessions. A Google form and paired with an automated email, calendar tool, those things, that's fine. It doesn't have to be the should. I should have this. Because if the system is only working when you're at your best, that's more like a hope. No, hope isn't a strategy.
Exactly. No, I like what you're saying about it. You should not be serving the system, right? Like we are not supposed to be serving the system.
Right, it's
The system
supposed to
is
serve us.
exactly, and if we're serving the system, then really the system is broken.
Correct, correct.
And then, so how can someone know that a system is broken besides us feeling like we're serving it? What else could be a signal that the system is broken?
Um, if it takes, you know, if it requires you to remember 6 different steps, if you feel like clients are not having a consistent experience across the board, if you can't name and describe to me your client journey from intake, you know, from discovery to graduation, and that remains consistent. If you're reinventing the wheel every time because you're trying on new pants every time, which is kind of like what, you know, all these systems is like, do these pants fit this? Does this, what's your, you know, what's consistent? And it should also, it should integrate into how you already move through the world. It shouldn't be that you're having to change everything about yourself in order to fit the mold that this tool is supposed to be providing you. You know, it should be something that doesn't stress you out. It should be something that's solving a problem that you have instead of creating 10 more.
Exactly.
And the more complicated it is, the more points of failure it has, the more it's going to possibly trip you up. So I'm always looking for things that talk to each other so that I don't have to retrace my steps. You know, does this tool integrate with this tool? And if it doesn't, is there one that does that's going to make this take less of my time? Because time is just as much of a resource as your money and your energy. They're all finite. How much are you going to give it?
Mhm. So choosing a tool should feel more like intuitive, right? It should not feel like work.
It should feel like a relationship that you know feeds you. It shouldn't be like, I don't know how to work this. You know, I mean, there's always going to be a learning curve, sure, but it should feel like I have this problem. This is the quickest path to the solution to that problem versus, well, I have this problem, so if I go through this maze on the other side might be a solution.
So with that, what you're saying, like if they have this problem on the other side, it might be a solution, right? How do they get to that point where they can feel like the system is working? Besides like the maze, what are some other tips that could help them know, okay, this is working for me or this isn't?
Right. So I mean, I think that you have to kind of know where you are and decide, you know, when you try, most tools have a trial period, you can give it a shot, or you can go, depending on how large your practice is, a lot of like the major CRMs, they'll even give you like 30 days of set you up and help you and show you all of the trainings and tools. But it should make you feel, it should make you breathe easier. It should make it so that you feel like you have more brain power, more mental load available for the things that you're enjoying. It should make things simpler for you, and it should give your clients a consistently good experience and not something that they're also, because sometimes you implement tools that not only do you have to fight, but because you are fighting them, your clients end up fighting them as well. And we don't want that.
Mhm. And then outside of the systems that we use with our clients, whether it's scheduling, whether it's our intake forms, what are some other systems when it comes to social media? We know we have to use social media now. And how do we navigate being consistent instead of making it complex when it comes to social media?
Okay, so when it comes to social media, I actually run once a month for female entrepreneurs. I run a group. It's called Social Media Madness. I'm big on the madness. But for me, the biggest social media tool that I use and utilize is Buffer. And Buffer is web-based. There's an app you use on your phone as well. I find it to be very cost effective compared to things like Hootsuite or, things like that. But I use Buffer because it allows me to schedule my social media as far out as the calendar has days. Meta Business Suite gives you 30 to 60 days, depending on the property and the type of post. For Buffer, I have some of my social media is scheduled out to the end of 2025, and I did it at the end of 2024. So like every week I put out, productivity tips and self-care tips and things like that, bedtime affirmations. Those are done. If I die tomorrow, I told my family, if I die tomorrow, you get a bedtime affirmation for the next year. I don't have to think about that. That is a system that I can take my ADHD and my ability to hyper focus, and bang out a year's worth of content utilizing Canva's content batching abilities. I can hyper focus for a short period of time, get it all out there when I'm in that kind of hyper fixation mode, and then I don't have to think about those things for the next year. But every month I run a co-working so that entrepreneurs can come together and not only strategize for the month ahead, but curate content, get feedback from other entrepreneurs in real time. And then there are working sessions called a Pomodoro. It's 25 minutes, but working sessions where everybody mutes and we have a task, and then we come back and share. And the whole goal is that at the end of this 4-hour Zoom, your social media will be well on its way to being scheduled for the end of the, throughout the next month. Because my social media game is pretty strong, but honestly, if I had to think about social media every day, I would quit my job. That's a lot.
I mean, I love how you said, like, when you get those bursts of like putting out the content, and because sometimes we feel like we need to have something written every day, but if you put together a lot of content at once, batching,
Right.
then really that also doesn't take away your energy when you're feeling tired. You're like, okay, I already batched a
Right.
bunch of content, so I can just release it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of always having things in your backlog that you could just put out there on those low energy executive dysfunction days. Not just content, but it's in the same realm of pre-written email templates. Those are a big obstacle for some people when especially a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with follow-up. Having an email template that takes 80% of the mental load away is so helpful that it removes one of those obstacles to following up with a client. If I have to write a brand new email every time, like, oh, I see that you canceled your consult, here's another link, it becomes a task, and I don't want to do a task sometimes. But if it's just click and send the email for a follow-up, I've initiated the next touch point, but it wasn't energy of mine that I had to give to it.
Yes. No, I love how you're saying like it shouldn't feel like a task. It really should feel fun and enjoyable, because when it becomes a task, you really don't want to do it. For someone, when I have a low energy day, I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to send an email. I don't want to post on social media. So no, I love that. I'm gonna turn it over to Tam and let her take over.
I wanna chat more about the client journey that you spoke about earlier, and the importance of streamlining that process for the practitioner and for the client. That's I mean, there's so many different things that the practitioners would need in this space, and obviously depending on the practitioner, the systems would shift and change. But there are some consistencies like client onboarding and scheduling. Most of us use those sort of things. Communication, payment systems, follow up. I know you spoke a bit about follow ups, tracking your sessions, your notes, how to maintain that consistency with your clients. What are some foundational systems that every practice should have in place, and how can we work to streamline those systems? And by all means, let's chat about different tools. I'll vouch for Buffer. Critical Mass uses Buffer. I use Buffer. Buffer is amazing. Like Buffer is dope. Go use Buffer.
Buffer is dope.
Yeah, but buffer is though, like really, like it's great. I mean, it's taken a load off of my plate with scheduling critical mass and my own stuff. So yes, let's chat about systems like that. So let's chat foundational systems that practitioners need.
Right. So the client journey, you're gonna start with discovery and intake. They need a clear way to inquire, to schedule, to understand what they're signing up for. It could be a form on your website, a scheduling link. It could be a pinned post in your socials. You shouldn't be going back and forth in DMs to set times with clients. I mean, that's a full-time job on its own. So having things that you can utilize to help them help themselves. I get DMs every single day. How do I book you? How do I make this happen? Having not only, a scheduling tool that's a part of the CRM that I use the CRM Honeybook. Not only having a scheduling link, but creating on my website, creating a custom URL that will just direct to that, so that when someone says, I would like to consult with you, or, how do I book with you? I can literally just type out containmadness.com/consult. And it's very easy for my fingers. I have it as a hotkey on my phone. So if I type CCC, it just pops up. And that's a time saver for me. And I have a lot of things in my phone that are hotkeys, like, hey, thanks for reaching out, blah, blah, blah. Here's my website. So that's helpful. Once they've kind of gotten with you, contracts, payments, confirmation, those should all be automated or templated. If you're typing out the same email every time somebody books, that's time you could have saved. Honeybook, again, that's my CRM. I use Honeybook for my contracts, for payments, for things like that, and my email templates and follow-up. It's very simple. Session tracking and notes. We have so many AI buddies out there now that can, and again, that's another feature of my CRM. It's one of the reasons why I chose the CRM that I did, because it is so integrated. When I have a consult with someone, Honeybook sends a little note taker to the Zoom session. And as soon as the Zoom session is over, it takes the transcript of that consult and puts it in their client file in my CRM. So if they don't book with me that day or the next day, and they come back to me, 2 months later, and they say, oh, but I thought you said it was 20% off if I have blonde hair. I can be like, did I say that? And I can go see, no, I didn't say that at all. I didn't say that. I can see it and it's right there. And so that is a solution for me, because it doesn't require me having to go in and take notes and then transfer them here. And, that became a very simple, hands-off way for me to be able to refer back. Again, ADHD brain, it's like a sieve. I'm not going to remember. And then, follow up, whether it's an email, testimonial, request, a wrap-up note, that should all be built into your process as well. So I did write down some of the tools, that I kind of do, or that I kind of use. I use Honeybook, which is very helpful for me. If you're an Apple user, the Reminders app on your phone is the best Reminders app on the market. If you're an Android user, there are Reminders app out there, but because I'm an Apple user, I use the Apple Reminders app all the time. That's very helpful for me, because if I'm talking to someone and they say like, oh, I would like to, but I need, this is happening in my life, or I need some time, then I take that initiative to say, can I reach out to you in 2 weeks? Would that be okay? And I'm not going to remember in 2 weeks, but immediately in that moment, I put it in my reminders app. Reach out to so-and-so, or on my calendar or whatever, so that I'll get a little tickler in 2 weeks. And then it's very simple for me to do that, because I won't remember that. But if I do it in the moment, it'll pop up, and, technology is going to help out there. And then also I use Squarespace's website. So I use Squarespace's mailing list. I find that most of the mailing companies, MailChimp and all the others, I find that they're all pretty comparable. I've used a few over the years, and they all kind of do the same thing for about the same price. For me, because I use Squarespace's website and e-commerce, the mailing list was very easy for me, because it's just right in there, is integrated. So setting up that, the email drips when you sign up for a lead magnet or whatever, It's all hands off. It was one hyper-focused session to write the email drip, to get it uploaded. And then now I don't have to think about it. And if somebody comes on my website, downloads my lead magnet, which is excellent, by the way, you should, they're going to get 9 touch points from me that don't require more of my energy.
So it's having those systems that less touch points. I love that wording. Less touch points where you have to consistently be connected to your business. You constantly pouring into your business instead of doing what it is that you love in your business. Are there any other tools that you possibly have to recommend for other things?
Yeah, so I also have down Google Voice. I use Google Voice as a boundary instead of, utilizing my own phone number or whatever. All business things go through the voice phone number, because for my clients, one of the things that I offer for my one-on-one coaching clients is texting support during business hours. You text me at 2 a.m., that's fine. I won't get it. I'll talk to you in the morning. But I offer texting support, and so they can reach out to me and initiate, a personal link to me and talk with me. But I use the Google Voice number because that gives me the ability on my phone to change my focus so that I do not get Google Voice notifications after business hours, because that is now my time, and that is the time that belongs to my family. And so I try to make sure that within notifications, whether it be social media, Google Voice, whatever, that I have the ability to turn off the notifications, because it is very difficult as an entrepreneur to maintain those boundaries and say, like, I'm not at work right now, even though I'm 5 feet from where I work, I'm not at work. So I use Google Voice for texting and to take intake calls. Canva, huge on Canva. Canva has batch content abilities. If you go, I think most of us probably know how to use Canva at this point, but we really don't spend a lot of time looking through like the apps toward the bottom of the left side. And there's some really good apps within Canva that make that process super easy. So between Buffer, Meta Business Suite, Honeybook, Google Voice, Squarespace, and Zoom, Zoom, it goes without saying, but it should be said. It's got a lot of really great, helpful things in it. And then ChatGPT. I teach classes for SCORE, which is the U.S. government's small business initiative, on how to humanize your ChatGPT and how to train it to sound like you. I don't ever go into ChatGPT, just type in a prompt and then throw out what it said into the world, because it's still not me, but it gets pretty close. However, ChatGPT is an underutilized tool for strategizing, for helping to organize what should my email drip look like from my lead magnet? What should my client experience look like? What if I tell ChatGPT what my client experience is? How could I optimize that? What is available for me? Things to remember are that ChatGPT is only as smart as you tell it to be. And also it's a liar. So if you are asking it for facts and statistics, you should also ask it for its sources, because it will tell you some nonsense. But it is very helpful for developing social media strategies, marketing strategies, meal plans, ways to take care of yourself, ways to optimize your schedule, all kinds of things. So I use ChatGPT all the time.
The chat is chat's a handy assistant for the critical mass committee and for me as well in my business. I know in the practitioner community there's a bit of a split around AI, where some are like, oh, we don't trust the tech, man, like scenes of Terminator rise in people's minds, and they're like, Starlink is coming. But and then you have the others that are like, yeah, chat is dope and it has purposes. And it's all in how we're using the tools and the systems, right? Like that's the important part. What are we using them for? What is the purpose of having these tools? And I think that helps us clear out a lot of the clutter with the tools. I mean, I've had stages in my business where I've had like way too many tools, way too many steps in my processes where I looked at it and I was exhausted just looking at the tools and the processes. Um, so I
I
know
missed
we
a couple
spoke,
tools.
yeah,
I missed a couple. I thought of two more. I really love
yeah,
Goblin Tools. Goblin Tools is something that I recommend for people all the time. Goblin Tools is an app, but it's also a website, but it helps you to break down tasks into manageable chunks, especially for people who struggle with executive dysfunction. And you can set the chili pepper, that's what they have. You can set how small those chunks are. And so if I tell Goblin Tools that I need to clean my kitchen and take out the trash, and I want, just 2 chili peppers, it'll say, okay, wipe down all the counters, put the dishes in the dishwasher, bag up the trash, put a new bag, take it out to the street and put a new bag in. Okay, that's manageable chunks. But if I tell it I need 5 chili peppers, I'm having a hard time. It's going to start out with things like walk into the kitchen, turn on the light. Some days you really just need your handheld, right? So Goblin Tools is fantastic for helping to break down large tasks into smaller ones. And then also Notion Calendar is fantastic. Notion Calendar, I use it and it keeps a little words in my toolbar on my monitor, and it tells me what's coming up next on my calendar and how many minutes it is until that happens, or how many hours or whatever. As someone who struggles with time blindness, that is super key to be able to just glance up and know where my time is tracking. It also integrates all of the Zoom links into my things. So I just click on, critical mass recording and it says join Zoom, and I don't have to open any other tools. It has made it very, very simple for me to not lose track of the time, as well as get me where I need to be, and in an organized and very simple way that doesn't require my brain power. So I forgot those 2 tools, but those are important.
those are great. I can hear how the tools that you've been sharing, they work to reduce mental fatigue, like mental
Yes,
overload.
yes,
And I think that's probably the big cause of burnout, is like it's decision fatigue, mental fatigue, too much going on in the mental processes. Now we still need to go and work with a client, or we need
right,
to step in and go and pull cards and connect with ancestors, but our brain is so fooled with all this 3D world nonsense.
right,
So I love that your systems are so focused on removing that clutter, that we don't need to take up more space in our mind. Your system must take up less space in your
right.
mind. The goblin one sounds fabulous. I want to
It
go and
is.
poke around with that one.
It's
That
fun.
one really sounds great. And I do see a fair bit of a trend within the practitioner community that executive dysfunction, ADHD, these are common things with practitioners. A lot of us experience those things. So having tools that reduces mental clutter helps with things like time blindness. You don't have to think more. You can think less and do more in the work that you actually do. I love these. I love the systems that you're sharing with us. Shunda, I'm going to hand back to you.
Uh, with all those systems that you're sharing, I know they've been able to increase freedom, flow, and alignment for you and your business. But before the systems, can you share with us a little bit about what was happening before you integrated
Sure.
all these systems?
Sure. So I started this business because I had healed from previous trauma, and they say that when you fully heal your trauma, you become the person that you once needed. And I was previously not an organized person. I was very much focused on building pretend walls of perfectionism so that people couldn't look over them and realize that I was burning to the ground on the inside. Once I moved through that, which was really a clawing my way through that, following some personal tragedies, I had a lot of healing to do. When I came out on the other side, I had been so focused in that clawing toward just God, let it be functional. I don't care if it's perfect. I just need to function. And when I realized that when I was focusing on function, it came because I wasn't focusing on what Instagram said things should look like or how Pinterest told me my life should be operating. And I was simply putting things in place that helped me to feel sane. So when I started this business 12 years ago, it grew faster than my capabilities would allow for. And it was all through word of mouth. And for several years, I felt like I was flapping in the wind behind it like a cape, just trying to keep up. And it was consistently a source of anxiety and stress. So how many balls can you have in the air before they start to drop? At what point am I going to look like a failure? At what point am I going to miss a tax deadline? Am I doing things appropriately for my W-2 employees and 1099 employees? What do I do about this? I didn't have all the answers. I needed to go find people who had the answers to help me. But it was pretty hairy there for a while because it was a lot to try to manage. Just relying on basically my nervous system to hold on to all of these things. It was not a source of joy. I didn't feel like I was helping people. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do. When I would show up to a job, it would be like, all right, what's the objective? Let's just get it done. And I was not really showing up in a place where I could genuinely, like, I'm not a wellness practitioner. I don't, I think I've just met you today, but I know Tam, and I think she's just so incredible, and I think she's so fun, and I love listening, but I don't really know a lot about some of the worlds that Tam, floats about in. But I do consider myself to be an empath. And I always have before I knew that word. But my space was so taken up by my own anxiety and my own fear that I was not going to show up for someone, or that I was going to let somebody down, that I was a waste of their money, a lot of imposter syndrome, all of that happening, that there was no room to actually receive the energy that other people were providing for me that helps me to help them, because I was just so worried about everything.
Yeah. Wow. So you weren't even able to show up because you were just really focusing on
I was
your-
just it was very transactional for me, and I was definitely not the person that I am today when I stand with a client, because now I know that I can fully show up and fully show up for them. My energy is open for them. I'm more successful. My close rate is pretty high. Even in an industry where it's difficult, my close rate is pretty great. If I get to talking to someone, that's one of my biggest strengths, is that I can generally understand who they need me to be, and then show up for them in that way, which is why they trust me, which is why they're open and to being vulnerable with me, because especially within the organization world, we're mucking through some pretty deep shame, and breaking through those shame barriers and asking someone to trust me and to believe in me because I believe in them. That's only because I'm not bringing all of my baggage to that moment. It's all about.
Wow. Will you say that implementing the systems allow you to be able to reduce some of that nervousness and and really the stress of running the business too, and dealing with your own trauma?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because, like that automated email, somebody doesn't show up for a consult or cancels the consult. Having that automated email, I skip past the part where I'm like, oh my God, I have a task. I have to write the stupid email. Can't believe she didn't show up. I don't have that moment. I just have the click the button moment, which is like the fast forward to the check, did it. And then I can immediately move on from that, right? I've done what my part is done. I got to the check mark, which for me is gratifying. I love a check mark on a to-do list.
Yeah.
So, I skip past the task and I just get the check. And it's so good. And I feel like, okay, and for business wise, that's great, because the next touch point is out there. I've done what I was meant to do and the ball's in their court. But for me, it's great because it does give me confidence that I am a capable business owner. As opposed to feeling the weight of all the tasks that are kind of driving me down. And when there's too many of them, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but if there's too many tasks, I will go take a nap and not do any of them. So I'm much more effective.
It's the same for me. It creates decision fatigue, and then I don't want to make a decision.
Yep,
And it's like, all right,
absolutely.
it's better for me to just go take a nap, and I'll wake up and deal
Absolutely.
with these problems later.
Yep.
Oh wow. And as you navigated that, professionalism is something that for me, I know I struggle with. I know a lot of practitioners struggle with it too. How do you release feeling like you need to be perfect as you navigating these different systems in your business?
Right. So avoidance and perfectionism are both fear responses. They're two sides of the same coin. We avoid things that we're afraid of or that drag down our energy. We get caught up in perfection because we're afraid if we don't show up perfectly, what could be the outcome? Structure creates boundaries. It allows when your systems are working, your nervous system doesn't have to. It kind of creates a flow that during times when it's like when you're riding a bicycle, some of the times you have to power it, but you really live for those downhill moments. That's where your systems kind of come into place. Sometimes you can just stop pedaling for a few minutes and just coast. And that's when a good system is really going to help you out there. But systems kind of neutralize that shame spiral that leads to the fear response of avoidance and perfectionist and getting bogged down in the it has to be exactly right. It does not have to be exactly right. It has to be good enough. It's in my house I literally call myself Princess Good Enough. And I'll tell you, my mother-in-law, when I first met her the very first time, she cooked me dinner, and she's a lovely person, and she's very much if this is the rule, we must follow it. And she made me a beautiful chopped salad, and she said during the course of the conversation it was revealed that she had spent an hour and a half chopping the lettuce. And I thought, I could never. Absolutely not. In my house, if the salad fit in your mouth, it was good enough and you're welcome. That's kind of, putting your energy, having a system and having structure allows you to put yourself into your energy into the things that are actually going to move the needle, as opposed to getting bogged down in all of those perfectionist details that really don't enhance the bigger picture.
Exactly. Because the professionalism, as you've been a perfectionist, that could potentially stop you for actually putting the content out there because you don't
Right.
think
So
it's good enough.
let's say you're having like a heavy week emotionally, right? What happens? If you have automations in place, your clients are still going to get their prep emails, your invoices are still going to go out, your social media is still going to post, even if you're offline taking care of yourself, right? That's what systems and structures can do, is that they can keep the hamster on the wheel while you take a little breather, because sometimes you need a little breather.
Exactly. Or you're on the bike and you need to just coast for a little
And you
bit.
just need to
I
coast a
just
little
love
bit.
that.
Right. It's much more sustainable when you can stop and breathe.
Yeah. I'm
I
gonna
love
turn it.
that. I love that point that you made. It's more sustainable when you can actually stop and breathe. And I think sustainability in a professional setting for a practitioner is one of the things that a lot of us are lacking, is that, how do we make this sustainable? For a
Absolutely.
lot,
Consistency.
we have
Yeah.
we have those aversions to, a lot of us, we're not schooled in technology. We don't know what a chat AI is, or what's a buffer, and how do I work my social media. So there's so much aversion that goes on for practitioners around running a business. So the systems are there in place to help alleviate a lot of that aversion.
Right.
But how do we know when avoidance is at play, or when we're trying to be too controlling, we're trying to have our fingers in all of the pies. We want to be part of the full process and make sure our systems are running smoothly, and as much as the system's taking out 6 steps of our day, we're still walking those 6 steps through the day and still trying to control. How do we notice when over control and avoidance are coming up for us?
So I look at tasks. I try first of all, I try to consistently keep track of my time as far as in an auditing sense. So I have a general idea of how I want to spend my business hours, right? Then my non-personal time, what percentage of that do I want to spend working on my business versus working in my business? But even within my business, I think, what percentages in the three categories, these are my three categories for my time audit. What percentage am I going to spend working on things that actively make me money? What percentage am I going to spend on things that build my net, whether that be my net work, whether that be a new venture that I'm kind of priming an audience for, whatever it is that's going to build the net that I'm going to leap into next time, building my net. And then the third one is altruistic. And so that's, I organize 501c3 charities for free, and I take on a certain number of them every year. I offer a certain amount of pro bono coaching sessions each holiday season. And, so I look at my time and I say, for me, that percentage is 60, 30, 10. 60% of the time I need to be actively making money. 30% of the time I need to be building that net, which is important because as a practitioner, sometimes we get really flush with clients and we're like, oh, this is awesome. And we forget to continue building that net. And then they all go away and you're like, what happened? Well, you weren't building any nets. And then 10% into altruism. And so when I feel out of balance or out of alignment, I look at my time and I say, is this lining up with the percentages that I know are my sweet spot? And those percentages can be different for each person. And so within that is also on my business versus in my business. And for the things that are on my business, I look at those and I say, what of these tasks could someone else do 80% as good as I do them, and it's still going to be more than enough? And those are the ones that you really need to think about delegate, right? Do you have to do everything? Because there are very amazing things that each one of us within our cone of brilliance that require us. And if we're spending all of our magic hours on intake forms and invoices, then that's less that we're having the opportunity to show up and shine.
With having all of these systems in place, the intake forms and the contracts, this stuff spins a lot of practitioners out, and there's this innate need to be perfect. Like our systems need to keep us safe and secure. I think it kind of hits on that root chakra and destabilizes a lot of us. How can we release that need to be perfect and just stay rooted in these systems without allowing them to,
I think a lot of it lies in releasing yourself from the shoulds. Because the tools don't matter not nearly as much. The tools don't matter nearly as much as why you're using them and how you're using them. You should choose what works for your brain, for your rhythms, and your style of working. Don't chase what's popular. Don't use it because somebody else is using it. Stick with what is manageable for you, what is actually solving problems that you have. And when you're implementing these systems, don't go into it like, I'm going to overhaul everything right now. Don't listen to this and be like, Jennifer Richardson said, I need Honeybook and Buffer and ChatGPT, and don't do that, because unless you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to be Jennifer Richardson, that's not going to be helpful. Start with one. What is your biggest problem when you are looking at your business? What is causing you the most amount of stress? Is it client acquisition, in which case maybe we need to start talking about building out an email list so that you can send out, emails and get those touch points going. Maybe we need to talk about social media because you're finding that you're inconsistent and that you post like crazy for 2.5, 3 weeks. And then you're like, oh, people are commenting and I have to talk to them. I don't want to do it anymore. I get it. I super get it. So maybe we need to talk about, but whatever that like biggest pain point, solve that problem first and work out from there, but solve it fully and then take on the next thing. Most of us probably read self-help books and whatnot. One of my favorite ones is Atomic Habits. Most of us have read it. And one of his biggest talking points is very, very true. And it's the idea of habit stacking and the fact that you can't start 15 habits in one day and think this is like, I can't just make a list of who I'm going to be tomorrow and show up and be her. I have to slowly build myself in that direction.
I love the way that you put that. You know, I think that, I mean, hey, I've done it. I've done it a couple of times over the years of running my own businesses where I'm just like, cool, it's Monday, everything stinks. I'm just gonna overhaul my entire business. And like by the end of the week, I hate myself, I hate my business, and like none of my systems work. So I love that wisdom of you know, pick the one thing in your business that's causing a hiccup or causing a speed bump or that isn't smoothed out, and just work on that, and research different systems and softwares. And we're all intuitives here. We work intuitively, with our clients. So pick your tools intuitively. Obviously, make sure there's no cognitive bias coming in where you're like, oh, but it's AI and, you know, Skynet is coming. You know, so check the biases, but intuitively pick the tools that'll work for you. You said right in the beginning, a lot of them give free trials for, you know, 15 days or 30 days. So to test them out.
Just about.
I think that was so well said. Systems that increase freedom, flow, alignment. These are all big words for us as practitioners. Like we want to float through life and be like, oh, we're all in our flow, and you know, we're doing the universal work. And how do systems actually support that for us as practitioners? We want that kind of a lifestyle. How do systems help support us get that?
Right. Well, they do create more freedom. They give you safety and consistency to show up fully, not just for your clients, but for yourself. They help you to create the boundaries. Like my notifications thing. Also, I mean, I surround myself with tools that help me and acknowledge how I could go off track. So I have a timer on my desk, right? It's very simple. If I put 60 minutes up, there's 60 minutes on the timer. If I put 15 minutes on the top, there's 15 minutes on the timer. It takes none of my brain power to say how much of myself am I about to give to this? I need a boundary and I need an external force of organization because I don't have it on the inside. And so I literally just turn my timer over. And when it goes off and done, I have little the blur is killing it, but it's just little checklists for processes that I have so that I know that I'm getting things done and I don't have to think about in my brain, did I do all of the things? Is this going to be, you know, is this going to work for me? Did I send that to her? I haven't, you know, and this is, you know, these are for something that I do routinely, but have multiple steps. And now I don't have to think about, did I do all the steps? Did I get it right? Because if I'm worrying about if I did it right, I'm going to worry about it for 2 weeks. Did I do it right? Until I have confirmation. I need to have some kind of confirmation. If this doesn't come, then I'm just going to mull it about in my head. And that's pieces of me that I'm not giving away with my consent. It's pieces of me that are just being taken from me by my own anxious process. Integrity in your business, it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Consistency beats intensity every time. It helps you to deliver what you promised, even when you're tired, even when you're going through it, even when you are emotionally or spiritually tapped. It still allows you to show up with integrity and consistency for the people that are counting on that without taking it away from you without your consent.
So beautifully said. That consistency is a word that it comes up quite a lot in the professional practice series. For a lot of practitioners, they hear the word consistency and they're like, they're going to shutdown mode. They're like, I don't want to hear that word. You know, and I think consistency is such an overwhelming thing for them that you know, consistency it's not a fixed thing. You know, consistency is, we don't all have the same system. We don't all post social media on the same schedule. Our schedules look different. Our capacities look different. How can we figure out what is our consistency, and how do we figure out flow within that consistency?
So I think we all have kind of magical hours that our brains are at their most creative, that they are at their most usable. It's when we're feeling most energized. And I try to plan my day around the circadian rhythms that affect my brain. So I know that at 6:30 in the morning, I am not at my most creative. I'm not. So I don't write blog posts at 6:30 in the morning. I know that that comes for me about 10:30. About 10:30 in the morning is when I'm going to be at my peak of really feeling good about things. And so when I'm scheduling out like time blocks for the things that will help me to be consistent, I schedule them for that part of the day. I don't say like, okay, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're just going to have to be creative, because I know that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, nope, I'm tired and I'm having that afternoon slump. So during the times when I know that like 6:30 isn't my blog writing hour, but it can be my administrative task hour, because for me, it also means that 6:30 in the morning is before I start with my clients. It's before anybody wakes up and says the word mom. It's been, it's the hour that belongs to me, but isn't my peak. So that's when I can do the things that are a little bit of like good drudge work, and I can enjoy my coffee and make sure that my CRM is running like it's supposed to, look over my schedule, make any plans that I need to make. But scheduling those things around my flow and around my circadian rhythms and how my brain is going to metabolize the day, that's helpful for me. Batching tasks that are very much alike, that is helpful for me. Even just scheduling in like administrative blocks, so that when I'm thinking, oh no, I need to do X, Y, or Z, I can go into my calendar and look for my next administrative block, add that task into the notes of that administrative block, and know that I now have, to be an organizer for a moment, I have now given that item a home where it is safe and I know where to find it. So that when I get to that administrative block, I open it up, it's time now, it's Tuesday at 8 a.m., whatever time this is happening. In those notes are all the things that I didn't have to remember every time I thought of them and just replay them over and over in my head. They're there, they're ready. And this is the time that I've dedicated to them.
No, I love that. Like scheduling your content or doing your tasks around your circadian rhythm,
Yeah.
what works for you when you're feeling the most energized. Because I mean, I remember seeing online someone posting, this is when you need to schedule your post, this is how many times you need to post, but that might not work for you. So,
It might not work for you, it might not work for your clients, and it might not work for your algorithm. Like
yes,
social media is so different. Your audience is not my audience, is not Tam's audience. Everybody is expecting something different from you. The consistency part is not about meeting some sort of external expectation. The consistency part is you setting the expectation and then showing up for what you said you'd do.
exactly. Because when you set the expectation and it's not in alignment with your
Yeah,
rhythm, then you're going to burn yourself out anyway,
right.
trying to meet
Absolutely.
an expectation.
Right.
All right,
And
so
that the
go ahead,
that
Jenn.
that 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 expectation part is important. That, and I love the way you've opened up that consistency. That's I mean, Chanda, you've said it really well with so you got to post at 8 a.m. and you've got to do this at this time and so many posts and do this and do that. But and Jenn, you've put it perfectly. The algorithm is different for all of us. We're all on social media and its algorithm and trying to understand us. It's not a fixed thing. We can't shove ourselves into a box to establish that consistency. It's not going to work, because well, there is no box to fit it into. And I love that you've brought in things like circadian rhythms. You're honoring your own flow, honoring your own processes. So if you're putting systems in place, I suppose the big wisdom there is know yourself. So what works for you, what doesn't work for you,
Right.
what makes you angry, what frustrates you, what's going to burn you out, and well, don't use those when you're looking for the consistency.
Right.
And setting that, you set the expectation, not externally. And I think that part is that's probably one of the more empowering things you've said here. You set the expectation on your consistency, not the world around you or some social media guru, or you figured that out for yourself. I think that is so beautifully put. Shunda, have you got anything else you wanna tackle before we close off the session?
Honestly, we can talk about just any advice that you want to give to a practitioner as we wrap up this session, something that we might didn't ask that has been helpful for you, maybe a pain point you have that you don't no longer have that you want to share with practitioners.
I think you don't need 10 systems, right? You just need one that's going to work on your worst day. And think about, what tired you would need. What does emotionally drained you need? What do you need on the day that you are caretaking for everyone else? What's going to take care of you? And then stop trying to overhaul your whole business in a single weekend. Like, start with one spot that frustrates you, whether it's scheduling or payments or client notes, whatever. Build a system that fixes that. And that's it. Just one fix at a time. That's how the real change happens. It's not going to happen in one big overhaul.
Yeah, definitely not gonna happen overnight. No, I love that. Like one step at a time, one system at a time. Something that's gonna help you when you're taking care of everybody else. No, I love that.
Absolutely. And then I would be remiss if I didn't throw it out there that entrepreneurship, a lot of times it feels like you're on an island. You're just all by yourself. But as women entrepreneurs, especially, we are an island nation. And there are other women that are out there feeling exactly like you are. Body doubling is a powerful tool. Call up one of your friends, get on Zoom, whether one of you is folding laundry and the other one's doing taxes, it doesn't matter. The companionship, the accountability, having someone witness your effort is a powerful tool towards increasing your focus, reducing that feeling of isolationism that happens within entrepreneurship. You're not all by yourself. You're not the only person having this problem. You're not the only person who doesn't like doing Q1 taxes. You're not the only person who doesn't, there are other women, there are other entrepreneurs that share these things, and you can get together and be the island nation that you were meant to be.
I love that. So me and Tam could get on Zoom and do our the task we don't want.
Absolutely. There's even a website for it. It's called FocusMate.
Wow.
You can go on and body double with a stranger, and they ask you, you're going to do desk work or are you going to do moving around work? You put your cameras on, keep yourselves on mute. It's a session that you book with them. I think you can do like 4 a month for free. And it can be 15 minutes or it can be 75, I think is the top, maybe 90. But it's just, you get on, you say, hi, my name's Jen. I'm going to be working on social media. And they say, hi, my name's Tam, and I'm going to be working on pulling tarot cards. And you say, okay, good luck. And then you mute yourselves, keep your cameras on, and you just work. But knowing someone else is witnessing you, it keeps you from getting up and, lollygagging or trying on your new dress or whatever other things that we do. And at the end of it, when there's like 1 minute left, you unmute and you say, how'd you do? And they say, oh, I got this done and this done. You say, oh, good job, I'm proud of you. And then you go on about your day.
Wow. So it's really someone holding you accountable.
Yeah,
too.
it's just it's companionship. It's that joined force of focus.
I love that.
I think we should start a critical mass group
Yes.
that we can, critical mass body doubling.
I love that.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think you've left us with some amazing wisdom to wrap up the this month's episode. Because you're so phenomenal at putting these systems in place and helping people contain their madness. How can people get in touch with you? How can they work with you? What options have we got?
So if you go on Facebook, the group that I run is called Social Media Madness. It is searchable. That's the one that meets the last Wednesday of every month from like 9 to 1 in the morning, Central Time, in the Central Time Zone. It is 4 hours. That's a big ask, but I'm not asking you to do it for me. I'm asking you to do it for you. Carving out that time saves so much time over the course of the month to get that social media scheduled. It's especially good for people who aren't really sure what they're supposed to be doing, because I will guide, and it's a consistent group of anywhere from 8 to 20 every month, female entrepreneurs who show up, and they will help you. There's new tools to learn every time. Somebody shares some piece of wisdom, whether it's me or one of them. So you can find Social Media Madness on there. And if you want to work with me directly, you can go to containmadness.com. My email address is Jenn@containmadness.com, 2 N's, Genn. And there's buttons all over it. You can consult with me. It'll give you a link to put 15 minutes on my calendar. We can talk about what your biggest pain point is, and see if we can get you either some actionable steps or a path forward to work with me one-on-one.
Beautiful. We will drop the links in the video description for reaching out to Jenn if you do want to work with her. I do an accountability call with Jenn each morning, so I will say having a network of people that can hold you accountable, or that you can connect with, even if it's on a weekly basis. I think one of the big parts of the work that we do is we do feel very isolated. We do feel like islands. So, join accountability groups, join social media groups. It does make a very big difference. Jenn Richardson, thank you so much for bringing your beautiful wisdom, your stories, your systems, your ideas, and your inputs. I think this should help alleviate a lot of the mental fatigue, the decision fatigue, the aversion, I got to be perfect and I got to have these systems. It should hopefully alleviate a lot of that for a lot of the practitioners out there in the community. So we thank you for your time, and for the beautiful wisdom that you shared with us for this month. Be sure to check in with us next month. We'll be back with a new episode. Until then, keep your systems simple, keep your systems streamlined, and we'll see you in the month of August.